So we're going to be dealing with the etymology of the word vocation. We got to deal with this because we have concepts of jobs, we have concepts of career, and what we're trying to show that basically is that your vocation is your worship. Well, basically we're dealing with etymology of vocation, and basically that's dealing with the concept of our day-to-day activity. That's all. It's not speaking about how you earn funds. It could be art, it could be music. That's all vocations. The problem in the Black community, we don't have vocational schools where we can learn skills or tools to be able to maximize our day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically going to show how vocation, through etymology, vocation is dealing with worship. Your work is your worship. Mm-hmm. And once we understand that, we'll be able to integrate all of the different deities we worship together in a pantheon. And that's what I want to write down too. So let me write that down, because that word is going to be key. But a pantheon, basically, pan means all, means the whole cosmos. That's where you get the word pantheism, which means that everything is God, but you have pantheism, meaning that everything is numerable gods. But pan is basically, a Greek concept or a Latin concept, a Latin word that basically deals with a deity by the name of Phanes. Phanes, already I gotta pull it up. Phanes is the chief Greek deity, basically the Christ figure, because you go to Christianity, the Christ is the original essence, the original God or the original being. Well, that is Phanes, same thing. Now, Phanes is the highest form of the Christ in the Greek mysteries, but the lowest form of the Christ is Pan, the god Pan. It's the lowest and highest form. Pan is basically, we all have seen him, he's like a goat deity. He's called a satyr. So that represents the lower world. So let me break that down. The lower worlds of the cosmic man, which is like an animalistic, low, like animal-like activities. But the highest world is Phanes, which is the spiritual world. Krishna, being in the crown, or the head of, this is Vishnu or Vishvarupa. He's called the cosmic man. So Pan of Phanes is the whole cosmos, the whole material world, our whole experience. That's embodied in what we call Vishnu, the whole material world. So theon, that word theon takes you to the word deity. Theos, or thea, it means God or deity. So let me write that down. Theo. So if you see, put on the whiteboard, pantheo or theon, that word theo, it means God itself. It comes from the Sanskrit Dio or devas. It's where you get the word daylight from. It's where you get the word divine from. See the word divine? So the pantheon basically is the complete reality or the complete composite organization of all of the gods, period. So the pantheon is important because they all have their vocations. They all have their duties in the spiritual world. So I'm going to show this image again. And if we look closely at the cosmic man, you'll see he has deities all throughout his body. Some are in the organs of his brain, some are in his heart, some are in his loins, his lower loins, some in his legs or his arms. All of them have their different vocation, their different job, their vocation. So what is the etymology of vocation? Vocation takes you to the word Vak, the goddess Vak. Now I got her up here. The goddess Vak, and it's a reference to her. It says Vak is basically a personified form of speech. She enters into the inspired poets and visionaries and gives expression of energy to those she loves. She is called the mother of the Vedas, a consort of Prajapati, the embodiment of the mind. So this is key. You can't have a vocation unless you master it with the mind. She is Vak, the goddess. She is your mind. So when I show you Vishvarupa, or Vishvarupa is the cosmic man, it's the Sanskrit term for cosmic man. His mind is this goddess named Vak or Saraswati. All of these are principles. So as within, so without. And you heard of the Hermetic principles, right? The 7 Hermetic principles.
Yeah.
As within, so without. As above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of these deities, all of these gods that we're dealing with the goddess Vak, they're all within us. As within, so without. So I'm not speaking of something big. I'm not talking about religion as in worshiping something external. We're talking about worshiping things that are internal. Mm-hmm. Our temples are the body of these deities. So Vak, that is Saraswati. Her name Saraswati, that literally means the flowing of water or the flowing of knowledge. is dealing with the hydrogen or the chemicals in our brain that move throughout the synapses and the neurons of our brain. That is Saraswati. Now, invocation we see literally means in vocation. Vocation is what? An occupation or job. So this is the key point of really everything I break it down. I'm really trying to reach the people who view this. What is your calling? Some people's calling, and that's where I'm about to go to now. Some people's calling, or their invocation or their vocation, their job, is to do music.
Yeah.
Is to do music. And that's why we have the God or the Christ figure over music. His name is Krishna. He's a flute player. That's literally the embodiment of the whole pantheon in one. He basically has the flute. The flute represents your spine. Krishna is nothing but a symbol, but nothing but your subconscious or your mind itself. So Krishna or the flute player, we have in the Greek, we have Apollo, we have Phanes, like I said, I showed earlier. These are all musicians. So why is that important? Well, because in West Africa, I got to break it down. Krishna in India, in West Africa, is nothing but Legba. Legba, his vocation or his job is dealing with music or communication. So that's really important to us. Legba is really important to us. He represents the crossroad. The crossroad. All of the deities live at different points of the crossroad. They're all dependent on him to communicate different ideas or different concepts of reality to different dimensions of different deities. So all of the deities are literally in this one sigil, Legba himself being the whole sigil, the crossroad itself. He is the great musician. But what we have to do though, we got to go inside of that world and understand what each one of these deities are. They all have their job or their vocation. So I printed out a picture of the whole pantheon. Each one of these, they all have their different positions, their different skills, their different roles. Once we master this within inside of ourselves, then we master our whole reality. We get a divine reality. So I'm gonna go through some of the deities, but Obatala represent carpentry. So for those who need to get into the vocation, remember that's key, I gotta keep this up here with me. Those who want to get into the invocation, what is your calling? Is your calling carpentry? Well, that's Obatala. We gotta know these deities. Because once you know Obatala, your work is your worship. You master his world, you master your life. Obatala is carpentry. Oshun or Azuli is beauty. So all of our sisters that's into the beauty business or dealing with, let's say, beauty shops or doing hair products, that's all Oshun and Azuli. We gotta know him. Ogun, he deals with technology. He's the lord of blacksmithing. He's the lord of metal. So Ogun, he deals with blacksmithing. Barbers, all about barbers. That's Ogun. Even mechanics, car mechanics, and so on. Now, Agwe is dealing with sailing. Basically our sailormen. But Olokun is a water deity, and all of these deities I can show, like I said, most of them here on this paper. Olokun, he deals with fishing. Now Oleron, he's right here. You can see he has the white beard, the cloak. Oleron is basically your priest. We have Dambala and Aida, that's farming. We were dealing with that at the last podcast we did. Y'all need to check that out, dealing with land. We got to deal with agriculture and land. We got to pay homage to all of the gods. And we got to pay homage to them at different levels. Because remember, different deities live at different realms, or the 7 different realms within the cosmic man, or within Vishvarupa. So you have to acknowledge all of the deities before you can acknowledge the supreme, which is the Christ. It is the supreme deity. Like we said in Ifa, Yoruba is Legba. So that's the last and final. It's also the first, but it's the first and the last. Remember, Pan or Phanes, the highest and the lowest. So in West Africa, though, dealing with Yoruba, we have Dambala, like I said, is farming. But we have Yamoja, that's education. You got to deal with education. So anybody that wants to be a teacher or professor, all of these different types of backgrounds, that's Yamoja or Yamaya. Another name for her is Yamaya. Or Mami Wada is another name for her. And remember, Yamoja or Mami Wada, education is nothing but Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of knowledge. Period. In the Hebrew, her name is Kokma or Sophia. So we got to understand that in the Christian world, the Hebrew world, she was significant for learning. So Shango, he's here in the red. He's here on the side of the red with the axe. Shango is the god of government. So that's for those who want to be leaders or kings. You got to understand Shango. In the Greek, just for the sake right now, in the Greek, his name is Zeus. We'll do that in the future. But let me see, Achosi is hunting. So for those who want to get into hunting, For those who are hunter-gatherers, those who want to go out into the wild, live in the forest, you have to understand the Chosi. For those who are into economics, that's the goddess Asia, or Asia. And for those who want to deal with, let's say, the dead, or be a mortician or deal with the graveyard or cemetery, that's the god Papa Gede. You got to deal with Gede. Oh, and finally, I'll say those who are criminals, those in the underworld, they're called the Ajagun. The Ajagun basically are the pantheon that lives in the legs and feet of the underworld. So all is God, all is inside the body of God. All has their vocation, everybody has their job. Some people's in the heart, some people in the feet, some in the head. But all is God. It's just we have to know our vocation. If you don't, your name won't be written in the book of life. You won't be acknowledged. So the last one, like I said, is the Ajagun. The Ajagun and the Orishas, they always, let's say, are in a war or in a fight or a battle. In the Hindu system, they're called the Devas and the Asuras. So you have to understand in life, you're going to have difficulties completing your goals or your mission in life, your vocation. Because the Ajagun or the demons, they're going to come after you. They're going to distract you or remove you from Saraswati, which is knowledge, which is what Vak is dealing with. Your calling. You have to know it. You have to know what principle you're going to be living by. The last thing I can say is the Yoruba, they teach that all of the gods, well, that all souls, not just gods, humans, ancestors, which are Egungun, all beings have to reincarnate back into the marketplace, which is this physical world. And what is a marketplace? A marketplace is a place where exchange of principles, knowledge, and goods is done on a corner of a village. And that corner is a crossroad. This is the great marketplace. We humans are nothing but reincarnations of our ancestors. The Yoruba call it Atunwe. That's the word, Atunwe. Reincarnations of our ancestors living out our Orisha's destiny, our Orisha's destiny. Ori means your soul or who you are, your essence. So that's what we're trying to deal with these vocations. Which vocation or which Orisha or which avatar are you? You have to know so you'll be able to invoke God. And like I said, your work becomes your worship. Every day becomes divine, period. So with that, I'll bring it to a close. If anybody watches this and you want to be able to implement or learn what vocations we're dealing with, like I said, we're dealing with agriculture, first level, land, resources. If you're interested in that, that's the goddess Erzuli, and it's also Dambala. So tap in, and we'll be constructing programs to be able to go and implement and deal with that reality. But if there's anything you can contribute, if you understand these principles or these deities, basically subscribe and stay updated with us. But for today, I'm just going to close on dealing with the fact that we understand these vocations is basically understanding and knowing, like the Bible said, ye are gods. Know that ye are gods, and the law cannot be broken. So in the Hebrew mysteries or the Christian mysteries, they have a whole pantheon of deities, and at a certain level, you have your Ophanim, you have your Seraphim, and you have your Cherubim. But beneath the Cherubim, you have something called Teraphim. Under the Teraphim, you have Satyr, and you have Shedim. These are basically demons. So there's a whole Hebrew pantheon of deities. You can get it in Solomon's Grimoires. I'm going to give some references. You go to Solomon's Grimoires. You can go to Testaments of Solomon. And you can go to the Book of Enoch, the second and third Book of Enoch. And in there, they'll lay out for you a whole diagram of the positions and roles of these deities. And basically, that's the science that we have to apply. It's the same mystery. So with that, I'm going to close out. I'm going to say peace.